TEENSPEAK. Empowering today's youth. The purpose of TEENSPEAK is to allow teens a safe space to share stories and strategies around challenges and inspire other teens on how to meet their own challenges or make their mark in our world. Some of our guests may have done some inspiring things that may not resonate with everyone's views, be it personal or political. This is not a political podcast, and though we have our own personal views, our guests do not necessarily reflect our views. They are simply here to share a story and experience in hopes it inspires others to be the best version of themselves and make the impact they desire in the world.
Welcome to TEENSPEAK, Empowering Today's Youth, a podcast for teens, about teens, but most importantly, starring teens. I am Coach T in North Carolina.
And I am Coach Keith in New York.
Awesome. Well, today we have a very special episode. I'm really excited because we have not just one guest, not two, but the big three. Now, our main guest that we're bringing on today is going to be Emma. Now, I'm going to say Saighani-Mirbaz, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, man, I'm rocking and I'm rolling. Well, welcome. We are so happy to have you. But before we get started, I want to bring on your sidekicks, Nathan Solar and Sasha Zari. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, welcome. We're so happy to have you all here. Now, before we get started, now we have this trend, and I'm going to see if you guys break it. Emma, you absolutely do, because you sent in your form. Every guest we have, we ask them who their favorite artist is or favorite song, and it has been who? Anybody want to guess?
Is it going to be Taylor Swift?
Yeah, oh gosh, yes, it's going to be Taylor Swift.
Yeah, another Swift.
All right. Jeez Louise. So, Emma, you said yours is Adele, right? Any songs by Adele, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. What about you, Sasha?
I love Lana Del Rey. I think she would be my favorite.
Okay. And pulling up the rear, Nathan?
I personally, I really like Elton John, but my favorite song is All I Ask by Adele.
Okay. I'll ask about Adele. There you go, Elton John. You kind of throw him back. You try to make Keith and I feel young, aren't you? We like that.
I've been told by many people that I have an old soul, and I am proud of that.
Sounds awesome. Well, listen, we are really excited to have you, and I know Keith may want to welcome you guys too.
Yes, glad to have you guys on here and look forward to learning about the non-for-profit and what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So I will say before we get started, I think one of the things that I want to just commend you all for is you're proving why we have this podcast and why Keith and I do what we do. We have so much belief in the next generation of leaders, and you guys are living that every day. And that's why this episode is so important to us, and to have not just one guest, two, but three, and for such a great cause, and working together, coming together, and having an entrepreneurial spirit at a young age is so important. So we really applaud all three of you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Right. So let's start with you, Emma. We'd love for you to just give us a quick, 2-minute summary. Tell everybody about you, who you are, what you do, what you like, and all that good stuff.
So my name is Emma. I am currently a sophomore in high school, and I love math and science. Those subjects have always been my favorite. And I also do swimming. I'm on my high school swim team, and it's honestly, I love the sport. And what's really nice about it is that I had trouble, I had lots of difficulties making friends when I was younger in school. So it really helped me make connections with a lot of people, because you see them every day, and usually people are really connected and stuff on the team. And I really love that, because I think our school has a really good spirit, and where everyone's really connected. I also play the viola. I've been playing it for 2 years, and then I played violin for 4 years before that, but I made a switch in high school since there's such a high demand. Because when you think of music, I feel like the first instrument you think of is the violin. So it was really concentrated. So I decided to switch since they're not too different, and I also was told that I'm better suited for it. And I also have my own business. It's Minty Slimes, and I have an Instagram where I promote everything on it, and as well as a TikTok. It's Minty Slimes _official. They're both my handles. And my website's mintyslimes.com. I started my business about 3 years ago, my online business, and it all really came from being lonely in school. So I would bring slime with me during lunch, and I slowly started selling it at school. and that led to me wanting to create an online business. And it was honestly really helpful because I got to learn the marketing aspect of social media, and it also helped me learn a lot about like internet safety. Even though my mom had already taught me a lot about it, it's good when you do it yourself because then you're a lot more aware of like certain situations. And it also gave me something to do and kept me occupied during quarantine because you couldn't really go out much. So then it would allow me to invest more time in my business when I was only in like elementary school, so it wasn't as bad. But in high school, I'm still like a full-time student and swimmer, so my business is more of like a side hobby right now, and I hope to do engineering or business in the future. And then this all led into my nonprofit because I wanted to help other parents with kids who are on the spectrum and gear them in the right path of success. Because honestly, the key to their success is you just have to notice it early on. And if you get them like early intervention and all the help, then they'll be well off.
Wow. Impressive. But thank you, ma'am. And next up, we're going to get Sasha to tell us a little about herself.
Hello, my name is Sasha. I'm currently a junior at the Orange County School of the Arts, and my focus is more of drawing, but I also love acting and writing. So I've been doing that for most of my life. And as for the nonprofit, Emma reached out with this amazing opportunity, and I've just been so grateful to be a part of it. And just seeing the sort of change that she wants to create for so many people and so many families. It was really inspiring, and seeing how much she believed in helping others and helping people feel like they're not falling behind and feel like, they have the opportunity to still be great and still achieve their dreams and follow their dreams. So that goal was very inspiring to me and really motivated me to be a part of this. And Emma's a wonderful person, Nathan's a wonderful person, and I feel like we all just really work well together. I personally haven't known Emma for really long, but, just based off of, working in this nonprofit so far and organizing everything in our conversations, just everything all together, it's just been like a tremendous opportunity, and I'm so grateful to know her. But I am very grateful to, be helping her get, this project jump started, and I'm just very excited to see where it goes.
Wonderful.
Awesome. And of course, we bring up last but definitely not least, Nathan.
So my name is Nathan. I am an aspiring author, and I am a cinephile. I am in 10th grade, and I attend Portola High School along with Emma, and we even started a film club together. And I truly feel blessed that she asked me to be a part of this project because I was actually really surprised that I was one of her first friends to know that she was diagnosed with autism. But this entire journey has been like a real treat for sure. So I have had the honor of watching Emma grow, progress, and develop alongside me for the past 3 years as my best friend and surrogate sister figure. And as someone who loves creating layered, complex characters in my stories with immense depth and nuance, I often ponder about the things that define a person for what they want to be known as to both audiences and readers, or rather in this scenario, society. I often notice that in the real world, most people with some sort of disorder, disability, or dissimilarity are like forced to wear and present it like a costume and a sort of distinction to portray a disconnection from the general public. But something that I've always admired about Emma is that she refuses to let herself be defined by her autism. I mean, right now we are here to talk about Emma Saighani, autistic girl, but every minute and moment I spend with her, I see her as Emma Saighani, my synchronous other half of our dynamic duo, and the snarky, enthusiastic best friend that I'll always be lucky to have in my life. I know that we all see those with autism as simply hapless figures who desperately need an extra push or two of support to survive in this unforgiving world. But from what I have learned from my voyage of struggle and triumph with Emma Saighani, there is so much more that resides on the inside of what is perceived. Most autistic people aren't even given a chance to be able to share what else makes up the complete composition of their inner souls. And I am incredibly grateful that the world and the people in it are allowing Emma to choose what she wants to be defined by. I mean, people like me, defined by their race and their sexuality, would give anything to burst out of the confining cage that we're crammed in. And I'm grateful that she does the same for me and refuses to treat or view me differently just because she doesn't understand the path that I walk. I think we can. I think I can speak on the behalf of both Sasha and me when I say that we are deeply blessed to have Emma in our lives, and we confidently know that not only are we grateful to have her in our lives, but that the opposite is true. From the immense care and trust and love she exerts towards us, there's no doubt that this is what she wants to be defined by us.
That was beautiful. You know, I just want to say two things. First of all, for anybody listening, if anybody is wants to question commitment of having these teens on here, it is 6:30 in the morning where they are, and they're here. So I just want to thank, because us old guys cannot do this at 6:30 a.m. It's 9:30 where we are. But you know, so the whole point of this podcast, right, is to inspire other teens. Just you being here and speaking about that, right, it is so great for other teens with autism, right, to, or any neurodivergent teen, right, to know, because you said it, Nathan, right, like, it doesn't define you. My son has ADHD really bad, like really, you know, he's had it since he's little, and he's never allowed that to define him, and he's been successful as a result. And I think that it's all what's in here. So, I mean, just you being here, starting a non-for-profit, you know, being able to speak about this, that is so inspiring to anybody else listening right now, or who will listen to this podcast, right, that struggles with the same thing. And that's why we do this, because let me tell you, the only thing that defines you is the limitations you put on yourself. And if you choose not to put limitations on yourself, there's nothing that can stop you, right? So I have much respect. And I think, you know, Sasha, Nate, like, so much that you guys said, like, it's so wonderful to have this, just, I could see this relationship, like the beauty the three of you share together. And I just think, like, your word, your sentiments and everything were amazing. And, like, just keep doing, because that's what this is about, right? It's like being who you are, not being, you know, having the courage to be who you are, and never letting anything hold you back from being who you want to be, because nothing defines you but yourself. So I think that's beautiful. But so with that said, Antwaun, did you want to add to that at all? Or
Well, no, you hit nail on the head. I think the only other thing I wanted to kind of maybe touch on is, if for the others that are also listening, is I hope you're listening and feel the connection that these three young people have with not only a cause, but the respect that they have for each other. This is one of those things that Keith and I talk to kids a lot about, is valuing relationships, building and maintaining, fostering and nurturing relationships. Because when you establish that at a young age, it only gets stronger and better as you get older. And the three of you gave me goosebumps listening to all three of you talk about your passion and how much you respect one another. So I just want to applaud you for that, because that really popped out to me, and it really means a lot. And I just think it's wonderful.
So I guess tell us a little bit about, like, Action with Autism, like how you raise the money and, like, what you want to use the funding for, like what's I guess the mission of the non-for-profit, and you know, share a little bit with us so people know.
So my nonprofit, I started that, like, I came up with the idea about it with the nonprofit about almost 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half. And the main mission of my nonprofit is to, like, empower other parents and, like, with other parents on the spectrum, and gear them towards, like, the right services that they need. And I haven't started the funding yet, but I'm about to start that process. And one of the things that I want to use the funding mainly for is, you know, getting the early interventions, or ABA in general, like the services you need, it can be a really long wait time, because there's, like, such a high demand, because autism is literally in 25% of the population, like if you searched it up, that's like the ratio of 25 out of 100 people are likely to be on the spectrum. And there's only so many humans that can literally work and support that demand. So it's usually such a long wait. And two, it's usually pretty expensive. From what I know, I think insurance helps pay some of it, since it's considered like a healthcare service mainly, but it's still quite expensive. And also it's sometimes some ABA may not be as good as like the other ones. Like there's really different people because everyone is doing it themselves, so it really varies. The one that my mom had found for me, believe it was really amazing. The people who were there were amazing. And honestly, when I was little, before I knew that I was on the spectrum, when I was little, I literally thought, well, I would kind of think it was weird that an adult was coming to my house, but like they had implemented certain programs that would help teach me like real life skills, but they were in the form of like games. Like there was these I remember one specifically was like you'd hide an object and then in 5 steps I'd have to tell them how to find it. But then now looking back, I realized that people on the spectrum usually have a hard time like communicating what they want to say in like a concise manner, because we all know what we want to say like up here. Sometimes when we like want to portray it, it gets a bit like difficult. So looking back, I'm like, wow, that was probably all to help enhance our ability to be direct in conversations and be explicit so everything is clear. And when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have never known. It was literally just a fun game to me. So I feel like it's also really helpful because the way the child perceives it is probably the most important thing. Because if they perceive it as being told what to do or being bossed around, they're gonna be like resentful to her, and they're also gonna rebel and not really want to do anything what they're told to do. So I feel like the funding that I'm gonna receive, I want to put it towards helping parents who aren't able to get the services and put it towards that aspect, so that way all kids are able to get the services they need.
That's wonderful. And you know what? I just want to offer this up. My wife is a director of special ed, and she's a special ed teacher. So any questions, any support that we can offer. I was a parent member in school districts. I used to sit in on CSE and CPSE meetings and make sure parents understood what their rights were and what they're eligible for, right, for their children. So, I'm happy to off here help out any way I can with that. But what I was going to say is, I think it's great that, like, as teens, right, you're actually providing the service to parents, right? Like helping open parents' eyes and educate them on what they need to do. Because it's true. I remember being in meetings and parents had no idea what they were entitled to or how to go about getting it. So I think it's so much more powerful coming from a youth perspective, right? Like understanding it and knowing your rights and knowing what you're entitled to and knowing what's out there to support you. I think that's wonderful. So, one of the questions I was going to ask you is, like, do you, like, when you working through this non-for-profit, like, do you work right now with like school districts or administrators to, help get that knowledge and get them on your team, right? Because I would think, if you can get some administrators on your team and people who actually is what they do for a living, right, to help support your cause. Just curious, your thoughts on that.
So I definitely plan on partnering up with more communities and more one of the things I plan on partnering up with is that the city that I'm in, I plan on partnering up with the community centers, and that way I can connect in, because it's such a wide audience. So if I can connect there, then I'm able to reach more people. And I plan to launch my nonprofit. It hasn't gone officially live yet. The website is live, like the actual launch date, I plan for it to be sometime in April.
April 13th-ish.
Yes, April 13th. We're just crossing our fingers that the venue, we have to make reservations, so we're crossing our fingers the venue can be reserved that day. But why we wanted to do April is that April is actually Autism Awareness Month. So we were originally going to try and do it earlier, but then finding a venue was really hard, and the reservations, it was really hard. So we're like, actually April's coming up, so maybe it was a sign that it's meant to be done in April, and that's the reason maybe why finding a venue was so hard, because then it could be done in April instead for Autism Awareness Month. And also adding on something about the ABA. Also, the funding is meant towards ABA services, but if some parents maybe are still don't understand the importance of ABA and keeping it consistent, because the key component for helping like people on the spectrum learn is consistency. Like the people literally come to your house and do everything because that's the environment we're going to learn best in. And if you keep it inconsistent, then like anything in our lives that are inconsistent will make everything much harder. Like I was in bed at 7:30 sharp, like on every weekday from like Monday through Friday. And if I was like, even though it took me a while to fall asleep, because I couldn't shut my brain off, so I would be in like I couldn't sleep for until probably a good maybe 9, 10 o'clock. Then I was still in bed at 7:30 no matter what, and my mom would make sure, even if she had plans with her friends, I remember her friends would come over to her house, and they would come over before my bedtime so I could hang out with them. And they're always the sweetest people, and I love them so much. And one thing my mom did is even after like the ABA, because you can't have ABA every single day, it's usually maybe a few times a week. My mom would still implement like what she saw from the ABA, what she would see them do, she would do with me. I remember that one time she wanted to put me in art class, and when we had went to the art studio, I was 4 years old, and she had told them that I wanted to join the art class. But then they told my mom that I had to be at least 5 years old. And she told them, she's like, she's on the spectrum, but she's really good at art. Like my mom told me I grabbed a pen before I could speak, and she would always see me like scribbling. So she noticed that, I would really love art. And then when she told them I was on the spectrum, they're like, well, that's not an issue, but the issue is, can she like sit unassisted for a while? My mom didn't know that people on the spectrum, or even with ADHD, since ADHD and autism are pretty similar, that you can have trouble like sitting focused for a certain amount of time because the classes were 1 hour and the teachers have like so many students, they can't like help every student so much. There's only like a certain extent. So I remember my mom showed me pictures that she had like this small yellow table, and for every night she'd be like, okay, Emma, just sit here for like 10 minutes, and she would slowly increase it. She's like, I don't care what you do, just sit there. And she told me in the beginning that it was really hard for me. And then she showed me pictures of the table. It was legit covered in stickers. It had so many crayon marks. It was really funny, but it was so cute. It had so many stickers. Like the only part of the table I could see were the legs. It was really funny. And also my nonprofit, I started my nonprofit because I feel like it would be such a good tool, and I feel like empowering parents and letting them know that their kids aren't going to be what they think autism is compared to what society like perceives autism as. So my mom had told me when she found out like my diagnosis, without all the books and articles there are, she told me that all she wanted was to meet someone who was on the spectrum, like who was a little bit older, so she could have like an envision, like kind of a roadmap, so she could connect with someone and like know what to do. Because sometimes you never know, there's so many different books, you never know like which, because books, they're all written by different authors, you never know like which one, there's like so many different things. So she told me that she really wanted to like meet someone who was on the spectrum and could like provide her like just a sense of ease knowing that her child was going to be well off. And when I had started high school, I was able to make some friends, and Nathan was actually the first friend that I made. And the first time I had met him was in an 8th grade school dance. So we didn't really talk much during then. It was only just one time. And then after that, when we had started high school, I had met with him, and then I kind of combined, and I met him in the first place because I was in orchestra in 8th grade, and two of my really good friends, they're twins. I sat next to one of them who played violin at the time. So they introduced me to their group of friends, which Nathan was a part of them. And then we slowly started talking in 9th grade, and I would sit with them during lunch. And then now I giggle with them every day during lunch. We always have like the best time. And then Sasha, our parents work together. And a couple of times that we'd be at the office, we'd usually talk, and we're pretty close in age. So I feel like we've got the chance to talk a lot, and we've become really close. So thank you guys for being my two like interns and helping me on this project, and thank you for being great friends.
Of course. Just as a side note, when Emma met me for the first time in 8th grade, she was a little bit hostile towards me because she had gotten braces for like the first time.
I had like, my braces adjusted, so I was like in the worst mood.
Not in a good mood, but yeah, exactly what Emma has been saying. I mean, kids with autism, they have their parents to lean on for support, but how about the parents? Who do they have? So we want to be that beacon or beam of support that they can lean on or rely on whenever they have any questions. And we just want to be there for them. Just like, because Emma's mom, like she said, never had someone to lean on or to rely on to ask these questions. And we want to be there for everyone, for both the kids and the adults, to help them through their journey.
That's great. I just want to just because for listeners that don't know, ABA stands for what? Applied Behavioral Analysis, right?
Yes, it stands for Applied Behavior Analysis. So basically, their goal is to help to help the kids learn certain concepts they'll need in life. Like mainly, it's usually like social activities and stuff that'll help them in the long run. But the things that they do are like really disguised, where they don't even see, like the kids won't even notice it's helping them until maybe they realize when they're older, like I did.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify in case anybody didn't know.
I wanted to give Sasha a chance to jump in here and add her 3.5 cents in there, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of building off of what Nathan said, we just find it really important to also like offer that support and lend that support to parents as well, because it would have been great for Emma's mom herself to have, services like what we're trying to give. But I personally, from knowing Emma, I think she did a great job. But just for parents who maybe need more support, offering those resources and offering information to kind of help guide them on that path would be extremely important, especially because when we're talking about the development of a child and like throughout their life, and not only wanting to keep up, wanting to, feel like, academically and extracurriculars, all of that, feel like they're still like caught up with the rest of the kids. But also, as I mentioned previously, about following like their dreams as well. So if they have certain career ambitions, like Emma has an engineering career ambition, and, she's really on that path because I know her intelligence and I know she's very smart. But for kids with similar goals, or maybe not in engineering, but also like in other fields, that they still have that potential, but it's just our goal to help them get there and by helping their parents help them. So it's sort of like a domino effect, if you will. Like we help the parents help the kids, and the kids can prosper. So it's just that sort of like the mentality we want to keep and the sort of organization we want to keep. And at the end of the day, it's really just to help these kids and to help them grow into who they want to be.
I had a question. So I would love you to talk, and either one of you, anybody wants to talk about it. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about advocacy, right? Like I can tell you, I don't know what it is in California, right? In New York, right? I think it's the same, right? You have an IEP, right? Individual Education Plan, right? Or 504. Many times, like my son, he was a great advocate. Like if he didn't get his extra time, or he didn't get, he'd have no problem going up to the teacher and saying, hey, like you're violating my IEP, right? Like how can anybody who's neurodivergent, right? What advice would you offer as a student having to deal with adults, right? Teachers, educators, administrators, to advocate for yourself, to make sure that these things that are put in place to help support your educational journey are actually happening. Not that people on purpose don't do it, but teachers get busy, they forget, or things happen, right? What would you offer to advocate for yourself to make sure that all the rights and all of the services that you're entitled to help support you in your academic journey are being adhered to when they're not?
I'd love to add that. I think it really depends on the student. I know, like you mentioned, like your son, he was very like, he recognized his right and he would go up front. But not everyone has that ability or has that like confidence to be able to, stand up and, fight for their rights, But as for students who maybe are a bit shyer or more shy, like having maybe a sort of a process where teachers offer those, services, or like at my school, we have the 504 IP system, and we have like aides, so people that are hired to follow students. I personally have known people who have had that, and it is really helpful because they offer them sort of services if they need it. But I know that that's not the case at every single school. So I think for students who don't have access to those resources, maybe, you know, starting with advocacy, you know, to maybe raise awareness so that those programs can be implemented at their schools. And if not, you know, just fighting for those rights and fighting for that ability to have those different resources or those different programs implemented, that could be really important, because your voice is also really important. But having people support you and having people back you up would be another great thing. You know, programs such as maybe, you know, like those programs maybe offering, extending resources to go and talk at schools. There's a multitude of different things, but on the basis level of the student themselves, when they recognize, I have an IP or I have an 504, and I recognize that I'm not getting the resources I need, maybe going to a parent or going to a trusted friend and maybe asking them to speak on their behalf would be a good, you know, alternative if they're scared to speak for them, you know, scared to speak up for themselves. But whereas, you know, being upfront and describing how they feel to the teacher or to admin, any sort of, you know, superior at the school, that would be a good resource as well. But just the basis of having your own advocacy, and if you're a little bit timid about doing it yourself, maybe asking someone that you trust to do that would be, you know, a good alternative.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask that because I think it's important for other teens to hear that, right? Like you have rights, and you know it's all about creating awareness, right? For the schools that don't have it, right? Private schools that aren't necessarily held to the same standard, but doesn't mean they won't. They just it's education, it's awareness. So I think that's a lot that you can do, right? Educating the schools that aren't necessarily super aware of these different strategies or different benefits that you need to thrive, right? So thank you for answering that. That, like, I always want them to hear it from you. So that's
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here because I know we're strapped on time, but Keith, I'm sure you wouldn't oppose this suggestion, but I think we should have these three back on because I think this conversation could extend beyond this limited time that we have. So if you guys are open to that, we'd love to have you come back on, and for two reasons. One, number one, the conviction and commitment that the three of you have to this cause is above and beyond, and I am not by no way surprised, but I know people listening to this will be like, oh my gosh, these kids, like, well, this is what we know you're capable of. But a lot of people out there are unaware of how connected you are and what you know. That you know what you need and you know how to get it, but you also realize that you're giving back to parents to make them understand as well that it's not just about them giving you guidance and direction, that you in turn can do the same thing for them. So we definitely want to have you back. And the other reason is because Action with Autism is going to launch in April. We want you to come back and give us an update because we want to be supporters of it as well, because as of today, you have supporters for life. So anything that we can do, and we greatly appreciate it. And the other reason I want us to kind of wind up here is because we got another part of the podcast that we do with all of our guests, and we'll shorten it a little bit, but this is our speed round. These are questions we ask, and you just tell the first thing that comes into mind. If you want to pass, you pass, but you have to answer quickly. Okay? All right. So we'll go Emma, Sasha, and then Nathan. We'll go in that order. So everybody will have the same question. Start with you, Emma. If you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
If I could have one superpower, I feel like I'd probably want like the ability to like run like super speed. I feel like it would be a really cool ability. Or my second option would probably be maybe telekinesis.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sasha?
If I'd have one superpower, I would love to fly because it's always been a dream of mine to travel all over the world. So having, that ability to just fly wherever I wanted, whenever I wanted, that would be pretty cool.
Nathan?
If I had one superpower, I would choose time control, just so I would be able to, if I could, correct all the mistakes that were ever made and redo different scenarios to see the outcome.
I'm just glad you didn't say you go back and change things to make yourself rich.
That was
Okay.
great timeline.
All right. So our next question, what is the most adventurous thing you've ever done, Emma?
Most adventurous thing I've ever done. One of the things that when I was younger was really hard for me was I had a lot of sensory issues. And I'm currently like a swimmer, like I swim for high school. But in the beginning, when I was younger, I used to know how to swim, but then I kind of I kind of forgot how to do it. And then my mom wanted me to learn because we're like in California, a place where there's literally water everywhere. So I had gone lessons, and at first I didn't plan on doing anything further, but then I really loved it and I fell in love with the sport. So I was like, I think I wanna do swim in school. So I learned within about a year and a half before joining my school's team.
Okay. All right. Sasha?
I think one of the most adventurous things I've ever done was I went up north to the redwood forest with my family for my grandma's birthday. And I was really into the Hunger Games at that time, that franchise. So I am an actor, so at heart. So I kind of wanted to just run through the forest and pretend like I was in the movie, just running from, the other tributes. And I was running around, and my family was a little confused, but I was still having the time of my life, and I felt pretty cool. So.
Okay. And Nathan?
I would say one of them is swimming with stingrays. One, I don't particularly like swimming in general, and two, I don't like stingrays because they're just like floating, slimy things floating on like the water. But something else, another adventurous thing, probably the most impactful adventurous thing I've ever done is introduce myself to Emma, because at that time when I met her, I was really shy, didn't have a lot of close friends. And then I'm really glad that I did that because I would say she's my closest friend today. And I'm really thankful that I had the initiative and courage to introduce myself.
Wow, that's great. I love that. I love that second one. I think it's a really great one.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think another thing that you guys are really bringing out for other teens listening, because I use this all the time when I'm working with teens, is it's all about finding your tribe. Right. And sometimes, it's like it takes time. Sometimes it takes time, but like your people are out there. You just have to like never give up on finding them, because when you do eventually find them, they are truly your people. And those are like relationships that last a lifetime. And I think that's really important message to get out there. And I love it that you guys, have you did that, right? Like you're sharing how you struggled to connect with people, but like you never gave up, and here you are, right? And you made these connections, and they're pretty powerful. So, for anybody listening, right? Your tribe's out there. You just don't give up on finding them. If somebody doesn't feel right, they're not right. They're out there. You just find them. I think it's great that you found each other, and I love it. It's great. It's inspiring.
Okay, so we're going to get two more, then we're going to wrap up. So what is the weirdest food combination you've ever tried, but surprisingly you liked?
I would have to say a weird combination. Okay, this is going to probably sound kind of weird and probably a very hot take. But personally, I'm not a big fan of boba because I feel like the drink you have itself and like the little mushy boba balls that you have with it, I don't find mixing two different textures go well with each other, in my opinion. So I guess I would have to say boba.
Okay. Yeah, Sasha.
I think one of the weirdest ones I've tried would be fries in a milkshake. That I know it's kind of a common one, apparently, that people enjoy, but I actually really enjoyed it, and I didn't think I was going to, because why are you mixing dessert with lunch or dinner, So, but it was actually really good. I really liked it.
Dip the fries in there. It's so good.
No,
Sasha,
I'll pass on that one.
Sasha, you stole my answer. My answer is also fries with milkshake. I think the first time was when I was like 9 years old. My dad took me and my sister to a Wendy's, and then he said, "Okay, just try it." And then I was like, "Okay, fine." But honestly, I really like that it's both salty and sweet, and even though they're two very different things, they really go well together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll pass on that one though, but you guys can have that. Okay, so if you could have one celebrity friend, one celebrity as your friend for a day, who would that be?
Could have one celebrity be my friend. I would probably say Temple Grandin, because one, she helped, like, there was a movie about her on Netflix, and my
I
mom
think
had
it's HBO, but okay.
Oh, sorry. Well, I think I watched it on Netflix, or HBO. But when I had watched the movie, I think I was about 12 years old, and my mom, like, we would have movie nights, and she chose the movie because she had planned on, like, telling me that I was on the spectrum soon. She was kind of just getting me ready. But when I had watched the movie, I noticed a lot of similarities that were too much of a coincidence. So I remember after that I had asked my mom, because I noticed all the signs, like she had like sensory issues like I did, and she was a picky eater. And I was like, okay, I couldn't get it out of my head. I'm like, why are we so similar? And eventually my mom was like cutting cauliflower and making lunch. I went up to her, I asked her, I'm like, am I autistic? And I said, don't you lie to me. So it was really funny. And I think it was like such an impactful movie.
By the way, just before, I just want you to know, being what you're trying to do with a non-for-profit, you should reach out to her. She does Zooms all the time. I've actually met her on a Zoom. If you tell her you have a non-for-profit and what you're trying to do, I think she'd be very open to coming on and talking to your group. She's incredible. So don't think she's not reachable. She's definitely reachable. Reach out to her. You'd be amazed. She might actually be very happy to do something to support what you guys are doing.
Oh,
Just,
thank you for that suggestion. I definitely will.
yeah, I just want to throw that out there. She's very, very, very involved in speaking at schools and talking about this. And I think knowing that you have a non-for-profit that's totally started by somebody with autism, I think she would love to at least
Support
offer some
that.
type of support. Yeah, reach out. You'd be surprised. She's very good about speaking, and she spoke at my wife's school once. Like, she's really, really good. Don't be afraid to reach out. She's great.
Sasha?
Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I would have to say I would love to spend the day with Keanu Reeves. I think he's such a great, yeah, I see the nods. He's such a great person, as well as an actor. And as an actor, I really would value his history and his experiences. But not only that, just hearing, especially with his life and the type of life he's had, and how his bad experiences and his, personal hardships didn't influence the type of person he is to other people in his day-to-day. And I think that's really inspiring. And honestly, I firmly believe that a lot of everyone should be like him, be there for people and help people in any way possible. So I would really love to just chat about that with him.
Yeah, I think he is a special individual, and I love how you started. Goes, he's a great person, and the actors was second, because I've watched clips where you ever see celebrities and everybody swoons over and they go and rush him. People don't do that to him. They approach him with respect because of the type of person he is, and then I think they value him as a person first and an actor second. And I think he's a great. That's a great choice, and I think everybody on here agrees. Nathan.
If you would have asked me about a month ago, I would have probably said Steven Spielberg, but I feel like now my answer is Neil deGrasse Tyson, because I feel like with only one single day with him, I could learn a lot about just about like the world, basically. Not with Steven Spielberg, I am confined to a film, and as much as I would love that, I love movies and films and watching and analyzing them. I feel like I would get more out of spending the day with Neil deGrasse Tyson, because I can see how his mind works. I can see how he sees the world. I can see how he views society and everything that culminates in our universe. So I feel like that would be really cool.
Awesome. Well, hey, listen, you guys have been beyond amazing, and I know Keith has enjoyed this. I know I have, because we got to just sit back and listen and learn, and our listeners did the same thing. So we really do appreciate each and every one of you, and wish you nothing but continued success. Keith, you want to add anything else before we wrap up?
Well, first of all, I'm so glad none of you picked Taylor Swift. But
I wasn't going to say it. I was going to leave that for you, but thank you.
By the way, I think she's wonderful, the stuff she does.
Yeah.
No, I'm always very inspired, but I'm always inspired by youth, right? Like, I love working with teens. That's why I work with teens, right? We both work with teens. But I think just, anybody listening to this, right, seeing what you guys are trying to accomplish and what you're doing, that's why we do this. So just, follow your dreams and follow your passion. Do not give up on what you're trying to do, because it's if you want it bad enough, you will do what you set out to do. Sometimes the journey is not always as straightforward as we want it to be, but we all know, right? Resiliency and grit, that's what it takes. And as long as you have those two things behind you, and you have each other to support each other, there's no doubt wherever you want this non-profit to go, I'm sure it's going to go. So, and you got two supporters right here.
Absolutely, for a lifetime. So really appreciate you all. And if you know someone, or you would like to be a guest on TEENSPEAK, Keith, Coach Keith and I would love to have you. You can go to his website, shiftyourpower.com, or my website, coachteescorner.com. We both have a link to a form to fill out, and you can be on and be superstars like Emma, Sasha, and Nathan. And then people be reaching out wanting to get your autograph. But we would love to have you. And as we said, this podcast is about teens, for teens, but most importantly, it's starring teens. And typically, Keith and I usually end with a motivational or inspirational quote. But I think based on how this episode is going, we're going to leave that up to you three. If you have any words of encouragement that you'd like to share with your peers, friends, and the next generation of leaders. And we will start with Nathan this time. Since you've always gone last, let's let you go first.
So I would say the most important thing in life is just take risks, no matter how big they are. I mean, this has probably been said so many times, but you have to at least try, because at least trying is better than not doing it at all. And I would say the greatest risks that I ever taken, and that has paid off, is just introducing myself to Emma and becoming friends with her, because today she is such a monumental part of my life, and I don't know what my life would be like if she wasn't in it.
Awesome. I love that. Sasha?
I think, well, I have a quote actually from Joan of Arc, if you guys are familiar with her. I'm not afraid, I was born to do this. I feel like that has a lot of power behind it, especially considering with our sort of mission here. Of course, Emma has more of a connection to this mission as opposed to Nathan and I, but we still have a deep connection to it because we know Emma and because we value Emma. But not only this specifically, but just helping people in general. Like, I feel personally, I'll speak for myself, but I'm sure Nathan and Emma obviously feel the same, but feeling born to help people. And I feel like that should be a very common goal for all people. As I mentioned, like with camaraderie, why I would love to sit down with him and have a conversation is because it's so important to help people. And it's so important to know your goals and to know early on, preferably, to help set you up for greatness later in your life. Or now, we want to help people now and as soon as possible, and having these resources. And we're very grateful that you two have let us come on today to speak about our mission. But having these opportunities to do what we were born to do, I think is very important. And, for all the listeners, recognizing what you were born to do as soon as you can, so you can achieve that, is a very powerful thing. So that's what I would want to leave everyone with.
Awesome. Love it. And we end with you, Emma, the star of the show.
So one of my favorite quotes that I think is really meaningful is in it was said by Temple Grandin's mom. I believe it was actually in the movie that where I first heard it from. It says, "You are different, but not less." I feel like it's really meaningful and impactful because a lot of people sometimes think if like most people when people see someone's different, it invokes like fear, so they automatically think it's better to like push them down and make them feel like they're not superior because it's gonna make them feel like they can't like they want to make sure that like what they fear of being different won't like overtake them. So I feel like if you're different, it doesn't mean you're not less. It just means you're just unique. So I feel like that's one of like something that's really impactful because a lot of people in society are sometimes a bit like judged just by how they feel, but they don't really think deeper much like into it.
Yes.
By the way, I think I can speak on behalf of the three of us when I say that we are extremely lucky and thankful for you two having us on to speak about not only about our cause, but also about ourselves. And we would be more than happy to come back and do another session.
Well, appreciate that. Yeah, I'd love to. You guys give me goosebumps listening to you. I mean, I'm inspired listening to the three of you. I really am because you're the epitome of why Keith and I do what we do, and you're the results of what we try to get other young people to do is to see their vision and follow it. And each one of your last words of encouragement and motivation, and inspiration were spot on. And I think if anybody takes one or all three of those, the sky's the limit. And success is always going to be at their fingertips.
Thank you guys for being here.
Yep, we appreciate you. Everybody wave and say, see you next time. Until our next episode. Don't get too famous that you tell us no when we call you back. See you guys. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you looking for an experienced youth empowerment and leadership coach to help your teenager find their true north? Look no further. Let Coach Keith and Coach T show you how, through education, support, and inspiration. Visit their websites, shiftyourpower.com and coachtscorner.com, respectively, to learn more about the services they offer and to book a session today.